I think all the things money can't buy, you know, health, faith, friends, family, meaningful work. I think these are the true treasures in life. Growing up as a teenager in Australia, I fell head over heels for the modern lie. You know, the modern lie is that life is about success and that the meaning of life is to be successful. And the modern culture tells us that success is the fast car, the big house, the important job, lots of money, vacationing in all the right places every year, expensive clothes with fancy labels on them. And, you know, I then went off to business school straight out of high school and to study a double degree in marketing and finance so that I could be successful, so that I could have all these things. And it was only about a year into my college degree that I started to experience this sort of restlessness, this sense that something was missing. And it was right around that time that I began to discover my spirituality.
So Jack, what are some of the things you value most in your life?
Well, probably my friends, my family, God. What about you?
I think I'd have to say I value the relationship I have with my parents a lot. I think I have a closer relationship with my parents than a lot of teens. But I think that if you were to ask teens what they treasure most, you'll get many different answers.
What are the true treasures in your life?
That's what we'll be talking about today on our show.
Hi everyone, I'm Jack.
And I'm Beth.
And this is Real Faith TV.
Have you ever thought about the things you keep and why they're important to you?
What things are important to you?
You met our spotlight guest, Matthew Kelly, at the beginning of our program. Matthew is a speaker and the author of 7 books, including The Rhythm of Life and Rediscovering Catholicism.
He spoke with us about how to discover those things that are really important to us.
Our true treasures.
We'll also talk with our studio guests about what they treasure most in their lives.
But first, let's find out what some of the teens we met value most.
What are some of the most important things to you in your life?
Well, I'd have to say like my parents and my dog, of course, and my brother and my grandparents, and because they're the people who really support me and they really like help me through a lot of my hard times, and I've had a lot.
Friends and family, obviously, I guess for every high school person or college or cool person like me.
My friends and my family.
Health and friends and family.
My whole family, basically, and all my friends.
Friends.
I'd have to say my friends too. I mean, it gives meaning to your life. You know, hang out with friends.
Family, college, good health.
Family, money, health. I don't know.
My family and my friends.
Pretty much family.
It sounds kind of corny, but probably my family. I'm just kind of close to my family, you know.
My friends and family are the most important to me.
She is one of the most important things in my life. Right here. See this face? Right here.
Some of the most important things in my life are my family, my school, and a lot of my friends, and also like my relationship with God and stuff.
Friends and family seem to be at the top of the list of what most teens value.
It was interesting that only one girl said that her relationship with God was one of the most important things in her life.
Let's meet our studio guests and see what they think.
With us today are Ross, Jen, Zoe, Anthony, and Maggie.
So, what's important to you guys? What do you treasure most in your lives?
Well, I have to agree with most of the kids on the street. You know, friends and family, they're right up there in the top of my list. But, you know, also with the one girl, God, and my relationship with him. Because basically without God, I wouldn't be here right now. But, you know, I think more than not, I turn to my friends, you know, when something gets hard. It's like, oh, friend's right there, I can talk to him about it. And then later on, I can go home and pray to God and, you know, ask God for his advice or his comfort. And, you know, that's basically it.
Well, besides God's comfort and the friends and family, you know, those are pretty much a given. So things like, you know, little things that we take for granted every day. Like if you see someone who's walking down the street that has a cane because they're blind, you know, you should bless yourself because you should thank God that you have eyesight and your whole body works.
That's a good point. Like when you get a sore throat, or I know when I get a sore throat, it's like you never think about how simple like a little thing like, you know, talking is until you have a sore throat and it hurts so bad when you talk. And you're just like, oh man, I wish this was over. And then when it's over, you're like, you don't even think to like bless yourself or thank God that, you can talk or that your sore throat's gone.
I know something I really treasure in my life is nature. I love to sit out on my patio in the morning and watch the birds or like just feel the cool breeze. And that may sound lame, but that's such a gift from God too, and something that I totally treasure and value in my life is just the whole idea of the world around me.
Well, yeah, me and my brother are nature freaks too. We have a house in Massachusetts. We go skiing all the time, and yeah, in the winter we go skiing in the mountains, and then the summer we go mountain biking. It's real nice up there.
I also value education, not necessarily just being in school, but the knowledge that you can gain from other people and traveling to new places and learning about new cultures, which is also really important because it's kind of getting outside your community and learning about new things.
That's a really good point.
Some of the material things people treasure are money, jewelry, collections of coins or baseball cards, expensive clothing, stereo equipment, computers, or new cars.
If we're to be honest, we might admit that we value these things because they offer us security, popularity, beauty, or social status.
But the effects of these things are temporary. They don't last.
Matthew Kelly talks more about discovering what is important
and how this may be difficult to do in today's society.
I mean, 96% of Americans say they believe in God. So they have that seed of faith. But it's hard to nurture that seed of faith, I think, in the cultural environment. CNN, MTV, USA Today, with all their pre-digested and regurgitated opinions and all these so-called experts, and start to listen to that gentle voice within, that quiet voice within, because we know, in our hearts we know. We just have blocked that voice out for so long, or stifled that voice within us for so long that we've stopped hearing it clearly. Well, I think a great example for teens is your friends. You learn more from your friends than you ever will from books. Friends have a phenomenal influence on us. And if you're hanging out with a group of people who you're going out and partying every Friday night and drinking beer, chances are that's the road you're going to walk. But if you're hanging out with a group of people who are, interested in becoming the best version of themselves, of being all they can be, then you're going to walk a different path. So I think one of the things that can really distract you from becoming the best version of yourself is hanging out with the wrong sorts of people. I think we're so obsessed with things and with owning things, with having things, and also with external beauty in our world today. We have people, we have things, and people were made to be loved and things were made to be used. But very often we use people and we love things. And I think every time we encounter Christ, he challenges us to reverse those two simple realities and to look within and to see a deeper beauty.
I really like what he said about people being made to be loved and things being made to be used.
Yeah, I think sometimes we lose sight of this and get it the other way around.
So what do you guys think about all this? Do you think it's difficult to recognize the things that are really important to us in today's world?
I think for some people it can be, because they do get so jaded with the thought of, oh, I got to go to a good college because I got to get a good degree, and I got to get a good job that can make me a lot of money so I can have the fancy cars, the nice house. And that's all well and good. That's important, maybe to you, and it may be important, for this lifetime, but is it going to be important when you die and go to heaven? Is God going to care, what job you had, how much money you had, how many fancy cars you had? So I think that some people do get, a little confused on their thoughts, but I think for the most part, everybody kind of has a firm grip on reality, and they basically do know, what's important to them: friends, family, religion to any extent, whether it be, God or, anything else.
Yeah, well, if you look at like TV commercials or radio commercials, it's always, you're not good enough unless you have this, what we're selling. And I think people get influenced by that, you have to have the newest thing or else you're just not good enough.
And it's so easy to get wrapped up in the here and now, in the present, when in reality, our time on earth is so short compared with the eternity that we're going to be spending with God. It's like a speck compared to a line that never ends? And do you want to be living for the little speck, or do you want to be living for the line?
And really good analogy.
Yeah. Actually, it came from a book by Bruce Wilkinson called The Treasure Principle. And it's just, if you step back and think about how short our time on Earth really is, it puts everything into perspective, and you realize that you want to live for eternity. The only things that are going to last for all eternity are God, His Word, and His people. So whether you're a garbage man or whether you're a preacher, why not do something for God, His Word, and His people?
Wow, that's
I
profound.
like that a lot, yeah.
That's a good one. I've found that reading the Bible has helped me to identify some of the important things in life. And St. Paul explains it well in his first letter to the Corinthians.
Yeah, he talks about gradually finding the things that have eternal value.
He wrote, "When I was a child, I used to talk as a child, think as a child, reason as a child. When I became a man, I put aside childish things.
At present, we see indistinctly, as in a mirror, but then face to face.
At present, I know partially, then I shall know fully, as I am fully known."
So faith, hope, and love remain, these three, but the greatest of these is love.
I think for many of us, as we get older, we begin to really appreciate and understand what is most important.
And like love, the true treasures in your life are priceless. You can't measure their value.
How have your views changed as you've matured? What are some of the things that you treasured as a child? Do you still treasure them?
Well, I think as a kid, you value, like little things, like material things, because you don't really know any better. Like, you try to find the best yo-yo you can or best little video game, or, But as you get older, you realize what's more important than, like your family, your health, opportunity that lies ahead of you, and, things that you can't really put a price on.
Like, I know I'm going away to college next year, and I was in the car driving my little brother somewhere the other day, and he said, I'm really going to miss you next year. And it was kind of an out-of-the-blue thing, but it just made me realize, like, I will be farther away, and I've been so used to, he's been one bedroom away from me my entire life. And so it's going to be really different. Like, yeah, he can still call and email, and I'll still see him, on occasion, but it is going to be different, and it makes you just value your family and the relationships you have with them.
Yeah, I still have stuff from when I was a kid that I value, little teddy bears and stuff, like, reminds me, but it's changed, like, my view on them. They used to be, oh, it's a teddy bear, it's my toy, it's mine. Now it's like, this is what I was, and, like, it's good to remember that. And
yeah, similar to that. Like, I have a baby pillow from when I was little, and, like, my grandmother made the pillowcase, and it used to be, I valued the pillow, I carried it everywhere, I slept with it, and that was why I valued it. Now I value it because it's a representation of what I truly value and treasure, being the relationship with my grandparents and my family. So I think, at least for me, that's the biggest difference between what I valued when I was younger and what I value now.
Right. I mean, everybody has their little things as a child. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, I still have mine. I was a video game kid. I went through the systems, Nintendo, then to Sega, and, I'm still playing video games. I'm not going to lie, I'll probably go home, I'll probably start playing video games after this. But I think, put me alone on a desert island, and, what could I need and use? It wouldn't be my PlayStation 2, or it wouldn't be, my computer. I would need my friends and my family there with me, helping me and supporting me. So, I mean, your views definitely do change, and your, ideas on what are important and what truly isn't important, they change as you get older, and they change all the time.
It's during our teenage years that we sort out and determine the values that will be the foundation for everything we do as adults.
Some of us may question our faith in God, while others find their faith helps them get through the difficulties they face.
So, do teens put relationships with God at the top of their list?
We talked to a few teens at the Sony Lowe's movie theater in Freehold, New Jersey. Let's see what they had to say about this.
Where does your relationship with God rank in your list of priorities?
Pretty high, just because I go to church like every Sunday, and I have CCD, and I'm making my confirmation in November, so I'm pretty high too. I think it's one of my top priorities.
Is that a 2? He's there. He's around. I don't know where though.
Don't worry, he's with us. He's with us.
So I'm not a religious person, so no comment. It's probably not that high in my priorities. I'm not really religious. I believe in God, but whether God is watching me doesn't really affect the way I live my life, because I live to be a good person regardless.
Sure, faith plays and religion plays a large part in some people's lives, but I'm agnostic, so I don't know. It doesn't play anything in my life.
Like, religion's important, but it's not like the most important. Like, I think friends and family are more important than my religion.
No. It's a tough one.
God, you know, I have faith. Like, God plays a pretty important role in my life, but I kind of have this idea that just religion, the idea of organized religions, it doesn't really appeal to me, but, you know, faith is definitely an important thing in my life.
It's getting close to the top. I ain't gonna lie, it ain't at the top yet. I gotta do better.
Feeling closer to God is probably the best things in the world.
My relationship with God is top on my list because I love him so much and he is what gets me through my day. It's like he's my all in all, of course.
It was interesting to hear how even though some of the teens didn't necessarily practice a formal religion, they still said they had some sort of relationship with God.
A relationship with God is one of the keys to discovering your true treasures.
And when you unlock that mystery, it's in a way like finding the meaning of life.
Matthew Kelly told us earlier about listening to the silence and cutting out all the distractions of the world.
Next, he gives us some advice on how to try to connect with God and listen to what he's telling us in our hearts about the treasures that give our life true meaning.
Yeah, it would be lovely if our souls, growled like our stomachs do when they're hungry. But very often we get spiritually hungry. We're not so aware of it because it's much more sensitive hunger. I think there's a great need for us all to step into the classroom of silence each day and spend some time in that silence, getting reconnected with self and reconnected with God and asking some of the big questions. Yeah, a friend of mine, he was a doctor, maybe 15 years older than me, a friend of my family's, really encouraged me just to stop by the church on the way to college each morning just for 10 minutes and just spend some time there in the quiet. And I sort of ignored him for a while. But about 6 weeks later, I'm on my way to college one morning and I had 10 minutes to spare and nothing to lose, so I stepped into the back of church. And I found it a very peaceful experience. I found it a very directing experience, very focusing experience. And I really liked it, so I started coming every day. And then that 10 minutes started expanding, and I think it's there in the classroom of silence that God really teaches us about ourselves and about him. I believe that God wants one thing from you and me, that he has a dream for you and a dream for me, and that his dream is that we become the best version of ourselves. So I think everything only has value in as much as it helps us become the best version of ourselves. God doesn't want us to be a second-rate version of ourselves. He doesn't want us to be some second-rate version of somebody else, which very often happens when we try to live up to other people's expectations. But he wants us to become the best version of ourselves. And so every activity and everything of this world has value only in as much as it helps us become the best version of ourselves.
Like Matthew said, the greatest treasures in our lives are not things we can lock in the safe or display for the world.
The greatest treasures in our lives are our relationship with God and our relationships with others.
Within those relationships, we are given life and love, trust and friendship.
And we share these gifts with others.
This treasure is not meant to be locked away or saved for fear of losing it.
It multiplies and increases whenever it's shared freely.
Have any of you found this to be your experience?
I have found this to be my experience because the more I'm open and share my treasures with others, the more they're willing to get to know me and let me know them. They don't think I'm shady because I'm too quiet.
It's kind of like that phrase, you get out what you put in.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that definitely applies to my high school experience because I've just gotten really involved in all kinds of stuff, especially in the different spiritual activities going on in my school. And you really do get out what you put in. It's so rewarding to see how God can use you if you're open to different opportunities that he places in your path. And it's important not to hold back. And even if it means going out of your comfort zone a little bit, God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And he'll totally equip you for whatever it is he wants you to do.
Wow.
So what about your relationship with God, guys? How is that your truest treasure?
Well, I think it's my truest treasure because I do understand my relationship with God. I think that's important. A lot of people say they have a good relationship with God, but I don't think they really know what that means. I mean, I go home, I talk to him when I've got a problem, or even when I don't have a problem, just say, hey, thanks for keeping me safe and making sure I don't have problems. And I think that's special because I think that a lot of kids aren't able to talk with God. Maybe they're embarrassed, or they think they're weird, or it's not cool. And I think just being open, and telling people, I don't care, if you don't like me for my religion, it doesn't matter to me. I just feel that it's special that I'm able to be open with God and share my treasures with Him.
I think if your relationship with God isn't your truest treasure, then you're just giving Him lip service, and you should try and put Him at the center to be like your truest treasure.
Someone once told me how any relationship you have in your life is like a triangle, because the closer you grow to that person, the closer you should be growing to God at the top of your triangle. So I think that that's a good way to think of it too, with God being your truest treasure, because not only is it your one-on-one relationship with God, but that relationship and how you can apply it to your other relationships with people in your life.
Yeah, it's like they say, how can you be open to other people, or how can other people be open to you if you can't, express your faith to them? And that comes with having a relationship with God. If you can't be open to God and you can't, have some kind of essential faith, then, who are you going to turn to when you have problems with those people, or just, any problem in your life?
Yeah, and I think within my relationship with God, another treasure is my prayer life. Because with every thing that happens in my life, every difficulty that I come across, whether it be something as simple as having a big test coming up and don't knowing if I'll have the time or the energy to study for it, or a friend moving away and feeling really alone, or somebody in my family being sick or ill, it's my relationship with God and my prayer life that allow me to get through these times, and not just talking to God and telling Him everything that's going on, but really listening, because you can't expect your relationship with God to be one way. You have to be willing to listen to Him and for His word in your life as well.
Yeah, well, how I pray is before I go to bed, I say a Hail Mary and an Our Father, just to to pay tribute, and then well, my dad died on 9/11, so I'll talk to him, or I'll talk to God, whoever I feel like talking to at the moment. Like, if it's my dad, I'll tell him, how my day went, and then, I'll just talk to him about, personal things that I would only, I'd go to him for guidance for. And then if it's more like spiritual things, then I'd go to God, just to get answers from people other than just God.
Well, prayer's like your telephone to God, and it's got to be two-way, like you're talking to God, you tell Him your problems and everything, and He listens and everything, but then you have to take the time to try and listen to Him, listen to what's in your heart, It's not like He'll come out and say it to you, but you'll get a feeling like what you should do.
I think it's also important too, I know a lot of my friends, they go to church and all, but that's only the time when they really pray. It's, they don't go home and pray. And I think it's important that, you do go home and pray. You don't just pray, you're at church for 1 hour a week. And, that's all well and good. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go to church. You definitely should go to church. But you need to also go home and pray more. And a lot of times, even if you do pray more, you're praying to God when you need something or want something from Him. It's never just to say, hey, what's going on? What's up with you? How was your day? It's always, can you do this for me? Or I have this coming up. Can you help me with this? I think it's important to take time and say thank you and not say, can you,
Yeah, and I definitely think that, at least me personally, that's something I know that I need to work on, because like we've been saying all this time, God is a treasure in our lives. And when all we do is say, can you do this, can you do that, help me with this, and we forget to say thank you, we're forgetting what a wonderful treasure He is in our lives and taking that for granted. And I think that a lot of us need to be careful of that.
Well, God's like your parents, your family, your friend, and would you do something like that to your friend or your parents, like, can you do this, can you do that? You always take time to thank them, be polite, So you have to take time to do that with God. Treat Him like you would treat anybody else, because he's a treasure just like them.
Yeah. Prayer is just so powerful. It's just, God may not always answer your prayers the way you think he's going to, but he always does answer them. The answer could be yes, the answer could be no, the answer could be wait. But God always answers your prayers, and it's so powerful. When you think about it, we have the privilege to talk and converse with the creator of the universe, with the savior of the world. And that's just so amazing. I mean, it's a miracle in and of itself that at any moment of the day, you can just start talking to God, and you can, share with him your hopes, your thoughts, your dreams, ask him for things, praise him for things, thank him for things. And it's just such an amazing privilege and something that, you shouldn't pass up. So prayer definitely is a very special treasure.
I definitely agree with you on that.
Most people don't take time to appreciate that prayer is so special. They just say, oh, well, I'm just going to do my evening prayers now, and they just don't take time to think about you're actually talking to God.
Jesus told an interesting parable, recalled in the Gospel according to Luke, about a rich fool who had such a plentiful harvest that he could not store it all.
His solution was to build new barns in which he could store the goods of the harvest for many years to come.
In the parable, the man dies that very night and never benefits from the stored harvest.
Thus will it be for the one who stores up treasure for himself, but is not rich in what matters to God.
Are you trying to discover your true treasures and the meaning in life?
We want to know.
Contact us through our website.
The address is www.realfaithtv.com.
Or you can contact us by phone at 609-406-7402.
Here is one more thing to think about. This is from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6.
Jesus warned his followers, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and decay destroy, and thieves break in and steal.
But store up treasures in heaven.
For where your treasure is, there also will your heart be."
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on
Real Faith TV. God bless.